Tonight, we're asking a question every paranormal investigator has wondered at least once. Can you bring something home from an investigation? Is it possible that spirits attach not to places but to people? Or are the changes we feel afterwards nothing more than fear, expectation and suggestion? In this episode, we'll share our personal experiences, challenge each other's beliefs and explore whether protection really works, or if the mind is the most powerful force of all. This is Ghost Watchers Northwest, and the debate starts now.
Right, so tonight's discussion, can you bring something home from an investigation? Right, so do I believe it's possible to bring something home with you after an investigation? A long time ago, I would have said nah. But doing this for some time now, and there's been a couple of times when I have felt something has followed me home. Once, twice, and it's lasted a few weeks and it's gone. But there's one that seems to be sticking around, and it's a child called Billy. Not sure if he came from Accrington Police Station or Antwerp Mansion, I can't remember. But I just know from then, it always comes up on EVPs or anything that I'm doing, a spirit box or anything, I always get Billy. And it's a child's voice.
If I'm being totally honest, I kind of sit on the fence with this one. Part of me believes, yes, you can bring something back from an investigation, and the other part of me wonders whether sometimes you just get yourself a bit hyped up after the investigation. You know, you might be feeling a bit creeped out after a particular location, and sometimes your mind can play tricks on you and you can make you think that things are occurring when perhaps they're not. There has been instances where I have personally seen some strange occurrences after an investigation, and I have wondered whether something has followed me home from an investigation.
Have I ever experienced any changes from an investigation that's made me question whether I've brought something home? Well, yeah, going back to the last one, yeah. There's been times when I've come back from an investigation and I've, like, you know, when I'm coming through my door, I felt like I have had the feeling that something's followed me into the house, you know, or I've been coming home, driving home, and I felt like something's in the car with me. So, yeah, I've had a feeling, but then whether it has or whether it's just my mind playing tricks on me or what, I don't know.
So from my personal experience, there was a few particular incidents that occurred where me and Yvonne had visited a place called Antwerp Mansion in Manchester, and I did feel like that place had some possible supernatural paranormal activity going on in there, and there was just too many things that just didn't add up, and unless there was, like, I don't know, hidden devices or something in there that we didn't know of, it was very hard to debunk, and you just knew that this place there was something going on. Anyway, on this particular occasion, I remember coming back from that and noticing strange things at home started occurring. So, like, just strange noises, and I heard footsteps, and particularly one incident was where I was on the phone to Yvonne and we was discussing Antwerp Mansion and the investigation, and all of a sudden we had, like, do you know when you get that interference on your phone and it kind of makes that, like, noise, and there was, like, voices, like, it was really weird, but it was as we were talking about investigation, so I'm not quite sure what happened, but it kept occurring whenever we was talking about Antwerp Mansion, which was really, really strange. The second time we visited there, it also happened again. The phone interference and the voices were almost really weird. I mean, I know you can have phone interference, but it just seemed really strange, and it seemed to be saying our names and things. It was really weird. It was that happened. It's not happened often to me, to be honest. It's just been a couple of times when I've come back from an investigation and there's been strange occurrences that happened at home, like maybe noises, footsteps and strange things moved or bangs, and you do start to think, oh my god, have I brought something back? Is it because I didn't protect myself properly? So a lot of things kind of run through your mind, but I do want to say that I'm still part of me. I'm kind of like 50-50 on this one. Like 50% of me thinks, oh yeah, you can bring an attachment back, but then the other half of me does wonder whether it's just psychological, whether it's just you're thinking that things are occurring when, or you're looking for things and it's, you know, otherwise you wouldn't notice these things. I'm not sure.
If attachments do happen, what do I think causes them? Do you know what? I'm going to say possibly the location, but I'm going to say the investigator, because they could have not closed themselves, they could be open or a bit vulnerable at that time, and you know, have a lot of emotions, so it could be emotional attachments and things like that. I'm going to say that I think the investigator for that one.
If I'm going with the view that attachments do occur and they can occur when you've been investigating, then I would say to the question, I think that it's very much down to the individual. I think some people are more open than others. So I do like to protect ourselves, which I'll get into that a bit later on. But I think it's down to the person, and if they're open and they're allowing things to connect to them and they're not protecting themselves, and maybe that's why they can certainly bring an attachment home. I mean, there has been stories where people have been to investigations and they've claimed to have become possessed by a spirit, and they've claimed for bad luck to have occurred. There's been all kinds of like little stories of people bringing things home. But yeah, I definitely think something, you know, I think it's down to the individual. I will say as well, there was one incident where I remember being at, I can't remember where the location was. It was somewhere in Wigan, and it was like an old church kind of thing. And I did witness one person become possessed, and do believe that was real, because we knew the person who it happened to. And this particular person was doing what they call the pendulum swing. So you kind of like, you have to kind of open yourself up when you're doing that. So one person stood in the middle, and then you've got two other people around the front and the sides. And you ask questions, and basically the person's got to relax and let the body sway. So when the body's swaying, you can say yes, no. Can you show me yes? Can you show me no? That kind of thing. And then what happens is, you know, you ask a question, and then the person who's kind of like zoned out uses the body. And I think this is where attachments can occur, when you're opening yourself up. That's what I personally think. This person, generally what happened was, instead of swaying, all of a sudden this person turned, their eyes kind of rolled up, and it was just like blank, and the person answered and responded in kind of like a strange voice, kind of a bit different, but there was like a blankness about them. And then it only happened briefly for about, I don't know, maybe 15 seconds or something like that. And then afterwards, this person had no recollection of this occurring, and they became quite upset that it had actually occurred. So that was one incident that I do believe could have been real. So I think if you're bringing something back from an investigation, it's because you're open. You know, you've opened yourself up and you're allowing for attachments to happen. So yeah, that's my opinion on that one.
Do I believe protection methods actually prevent attachments? Well, we do it. We do try and put, we do protection methods before we go on to investigations. Sometimes I forget, but we do it. Do they actually protect you? I'm not sure. They do reassure you. They do make you feel that you've protected yourself and nothing can harm you. So maybe it psychologically reassures us. So, but then they could protect, the methods we use, the prayers, they're putting the bubbles around us and all that. Maybe they do protect us.
Do I believe that protection methods work, or do they just reassure us? If I'm being honest, I'm not sure again, but I do think there's no harm in doing a protection. There's no harm in doing a little ritual or something that just gives you that hope that there is some protection and it does work. I mean, let's be honest, I'm all for just doing a little something or a little visualization just in the hope that it might protect me. And it's just having that self-belief as well and believing that you can protect yourself. I think there's no harm in giving it a go. Please do protect yourself. For the sake of just doing a simple thing, like just saying a few words and or having a bit of meditation or just visualizing that white light. There's no harm in doing that and just giving it a go, because at the end of the day, if anything, if it even just gives you reassurance, it's good to do. I mean, I'm all for just doing it just in case it does give you that protection.
After doing this for so long, and some of the feelings that I've had when I've come home after an investigation, sometimes I've come home and I just feel like I've no energy. Majority of the investigations I've been on, I've always come home with a banging headache. Attachments, I do believe I have got an attachment called Billy. So it doesn't do me any harm, but no matter where I go, what tools I use or whatever, I always seem to get the Billy. So yeah, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.
Tonight, we've shared different beliefs, experiences and theories, and maybe the most unsettling part is that there's no single answer. For some, the idea of an attachment feels very real. The unexplained changes, the dreams, the feelings of being watched, things that don't easily fade once you've left the location behind. For others, what follows us home isn't a spirit at all, but the weight of expectation, heightened awareness, and the power of the human mind trying to make sense of fear. But perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. When we step into places charged with history, emotion and tragedy, we don't always leave untouched. Whether it's energy, memory or psychology, something lingers. That's why intent matters, respect matters, and why protection, whether physical, spiritual or mental, may be less about fear and more about boundaries. So the question isn't just whether something can follow you home, but whether we're prepared for what we carry back with us. Let us know what you believe. Have you ever felt like an investigation didn't end when you left? This is Ghost Watchers Northwest, and until next time, stay curious but stay protected, because sometimes the investigation doesn't end when you leave.